Sheila Stevens here. It's midnight in the West. Or is it? How do we define that? I heard somebody say that just today. It's midnight in the West and it's about to be over. Well, let's look at that. Is it? Is it midnight? Yeah, maybe we could say it is. We have people rioting in the streets, looting and destroying and maiming just because they don't have what they think they should have or what they want. Yeah, we have that. We have a whole segment of society that has determined that they're not going to work. They have issues. They're undereducated. Our schools are not serving them as they did in the past. And they're making choices to rely on those who do work and those who do have an income or some kind of a good career to take care of them. So we have that. But then we have another group of people who still believe in the Constitution, in the belief that man can rule himself, that we don't need to be cattle, prodded around, fed, taken care of, sheltered, and then do what? We're not cattle. There are some people who seem to be cattle today, and the cattle are starting to grow some teeth, as we have seen recently in the cities where people are looting. But it's only midnight if we decide to let it be. And my view of that is that midnight can mean new beginnings. Yeah, one day is ended, but another day can begin, and it should begin, and we should turn this all around and come back to constitutional principles, come back to the fact that man can be safe and secure in his own home. Okay, now who protects us? What group protects us from that group and from the people who don't believe that way, who believe the collectivist attitude that everyone should share, and if you're not sharing, just give it to me anyway? Who protects us? First, military personnel. Second, first responders, law enforcement agencies, medical response people, firefighters. These are the people that are standing on the line between us and chaos, and they're getting bashed in different ways. The reason I started the Valkyrie Initiative is to help both groups. I think there's a place where they both intersect and a place where their issues intersect. The Valkyrie Initiative will not be a place where people will be coddled or where they can come and say, poor me, and, with their hand out. It's a place where people will be working 4 hours a day in an outdoor setting with animals, with working on a farm-like, growing their own vegetables, and they'll be building things if they want, or repairing things, or working in the kitchen, whatever their gift is, whatever their desire is, to give back and help the people that are coming after them. That's what they'll do for 4 hours a day. After that, there will be plenty of time for decompression, for other alternatives that we will put in place to deal with these issues of stress and issues of even PTSD, which I know there's some controversy even among warfighters and law enforcement community as to whether that's a real thing or not. Well, it is. It exists, and it actually changes the brain. It exists on a continuum, it may be very low level, where you still are you manage to work, you manage to have a family, but you're just not happy, you're not productive as you'd like to be. Maybe emotions are very numbed, or they are either just so intense that they're very difficult to deal with. So that is the brain's normal response to an abnormal situation, that of combat or that of years of watching all the things that first responders see, can actually change the brain to a hyper alert state where they're very much noticing things that other people don't notice, and they have issues with sleeplessness on the lower end, with anger, with the feelings that the emotions that they can't handle, either numb or either too many emotions. So can go all the way up to the high end where these emotions are heightened and they're extremely angry. Sometimes they often say it's unjustified anger, and where they also have sleeplessness, days where they don't sleep, which can have its own effect, where they have nightmares, where they have auditory visual hallucinations. That is the very, very extreme end, and most people don't go there. But when they do, it's shocking to them, and they don't understand it. It's the symptoms of what has been rewired in their brain to keep them alive during a combat situation or during a situation on the street where first responders have to see things and do things that other people will never see in their lifetime. So it's a good thing. If you look at it that way, you'll see that it's actually the body's protective mechanism to keep you from sliding, from being injured further with the hyper alertness, and secondly, to keep your psyche from shattering from some of the things you have to see or do. So you're not broken. There's nothing broken. It can be rewired with, and there's a lot of things we're going to do with the Valkyrie Initiative that will help with that. And you can choose from a potpourri of things such as acupuncture, yoga, meditation, EMDR, which is something that's come up recently, a lot of study about that, accelerated resolution training, family constellation therapy, something that I'm working with right now and found it to be very helpful, not only for trauma situations, but for daily life. How do you find your place in the world? And that's another problem. How do you find your place in the world? Who are you anymore when you're no longer the warrior, when you're no longer the first responder, you're no longer a police officer? That was my issue. I'm a former police officer and federal agent, and I was injured on the job, and suddenly I didn't know who I was. Something that I've loved doing, that I was trained to do, that I knew how to do, that was exciting every day. I would wake up to a new challenge, and people like us need to be challenged. I would wake up and go to work with people I love, friends that I was closer to than any other time in my life, and then I lost it. And I've talked to many veterans who say that that's a big issue for them. Who are they? How do they reintegrate? Not assimilate, because they'll never be the same. That's something we're going to talk about in a later segment. What is this MAOA gene that's been discovered in people like you and I, who have risk-taking personality traits and protective personality traits? That's what the warrior and the first responder is. If they're good, if they're really the people that they say they are. And of course, in every profession, there are the bad apples. Few of them in this community. It's been my experience. So Valkyrie will help the first responder and will help the veteran to decompress from everything that has caused the trauma in his life with these different modalities, help them to get off drugs if they are on drugs, help them to live a life that is fuller, complete, and still stay a warrior. There'll be training, there'll be job skills, and things. I've got a lot of warriors and first responders waiting to help with things that they have found that help them through it. Whether it was something that they turned into a profession or something they do as a hobby, such as knife making, weapons training, private investigation. There'll be many things that you can choose from. So we'll have also natural foods and counseling, food supplement counseling, which is a big part, I think, of being well in whatever's wrong with you. We'll have a lot of things that will be offered that will not change who the warrior is, but will allow the warrior to be who he or she really is and always was meant to be, without the distractions of the PTS symptoms, or even if you don't have PTS, stress is huge. And yoga is another way that we're going to help you to learn how to de-stress and decompress. But there's many other things that can't be talked about here, be talked about in separate segments. So check back, and we'll do each one of these separately and go into a lot of other things. Thank you so much.